Item number 2, AB 8 by Aguiar-Curry. You may begin when ready, and your witnesses both have 2 minutes each.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you to you and your staff for working on this complicated issue. Should this bill make it off to suspense, I would be happy to accept the committee's amendments. I started working on the hemp issues because the 2018 Farm Bill left a pretty unregulated industry. My previous legislation, AB 45, was the most strict hemp law in the country when it was enacted in 2021. It was an effort to legalize non-intoxicating hemp products like CBD. So today I'm here to make sure the law can be properly enforced and interpreted. As the hemp market grows, we're seeing more intoxicating hemp products sold outside of dispensaries without age limits, which should be illegal. This bill is another big undertaking, and it focuses on 3 issues. First, it'll expand enforcement to crack down on illegal hemp products. This will give state agencies and local governments the tools they need to protect our kids from synthetic products. Second, it will close loopholes that allow intoxicating hemp products and make it clear that all synthetic THC is banned. Third, it integrates hemp into the cannabis supply chain. This will make sure all products with any level of THC are treated like cannabis, meaning full registration, regulation, and taxation. This will bring new products under the cannabis excise tax and will likely expand tax revenue. I will continue to work with stakeholders, state agencies, and committees as we address concerns about the best ways to implement these changes. With that, I have with me today Amy Jenkins on behalf of the California Cannabis Operators Association and Kristen Heidelbach, Legislative Director from the UFCW Western States Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 2 minutes each. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Amy Jenkins on behalf of the California Cannabis Operators Association. We represent 200 license holders across the state. We are proud to sponsor AB 8 and thank the author for her tremendous leadership on this issue, which has spanned several years now. Earlier this year, my other client, March and Ash, released a groundbreaking report, The Great Hemp Hoax, which reviewed over 100 hemp-derived THC products illegally sold in California. The findings were staggering. 89% exceeded the legal THC limit under California law. 66% were marketed to children. 52% had no testing or potency verification. 35% were manufactured out of state, bypassing all California oversight, and none were taxed under our current construct. AB 8 draws a clear line. If a product is intoxicating, it belongs under the regulatory authority of the Department of Cannabis Control. The need for tax reform for the cannabis industry is urgent. In March, Whitney Economics, one of the country's leading cannabis market analysts, reduced its U.S. cannabis retail forecast by more than $21 billion over the next 5 years. Why? Because Californians and other states are losing market share due to high taxes, poor enforcement, and a flood of intoxicating hemp products. And the ERA economics report commissioned by the DCC, which is also referenced in your analysis, backs this up. While the report shows growth in retail volume, it clearly finds that California's licensed cannabis operators face far higher regulatory costs than any other industries and cannabis markets. California's excise taxes and licensing fees are 124% and 162% higher, respectively, than Michigan's. In California, taxes and fees equal roughly 77.5% of wholesale value, compared to 8.4% for alcohol and 29.5% for tobacco. This is not a demand problem, it's a cost burden problem. AB 8 provides a clear, enforceable structure for regulating intoxicating cannabinoid products, while also delivering a responsible tax framework that protects the integrity and sustainability of California's legal market. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next witness, 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Kristen Heidelbach here on behalf of UFCW, Western States Council. We proudly represent about 5,000 cannabis workers in the state of California. First of all, I want to thank Assemblymember Aguiar-Curry for authoring this important legislation that, if passed, will protect not only California consumers, but the workers and employers that UFCW represents in the cannabis industry. High taxes and a booming illicit market create almost untenable challenges for a highly regulated industry. Add to that an unchecked hemp-derived THC alternative that is virtually unregulated, and you have an industry that is on the brink of collapse. The cannabis industry has such high guardrails in place that manage how they conduct their businesses, who they can sell their products to, how product is moved, and how they can advertise. The proliferation of hemp-based intoxicating product solicitations that are sold easily online or offered to unknown audiences on social media platforms is a threat to consumer safety. Neither the voters nor the state legislature intended for the hemp market to evolve into a shadow market where intoxicating cannabinoids are cheap, potent, untested, and untaxed. Rather, the hemp market was intended to be a wellness market based on non-intoxicating therapeutic cannabinoids derived naturally from low THC plants. AB 8 would align the currently bifurcated hemp and cannabis markets, and most importantly, create tax and testing parity between the two markets and give officials a better chance at fighting bad actors. Simply put, if it is an intoxicating product, it belongs in the regulated cannabis supply chain. We respectfully urge your aye vote.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anyone in the room wishing to speak in support of ABA, would you please line up? I need your name, your organization, and support only. Thank you very much.
Tim Schmelzer with Wine Institute in support.
Thank you very much.
Zach Seflu with the League of California Cities in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Arsenault on behalf of the California Cannabis Industry Association in support. Thank you.
Colin Stadmiller with Brown C on behalf of Kiva Confections Incorporated, a California cannabis manufacturing company in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Sam Rodriguez on behalf of Good Farmers, Great Neighbors based in Santa Barbara County in support.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Stacey Heaton, Rural County Representatives of California, also speaking for the California State Association of County CSAC in support.
Ms. Quirk-Silva.
I want to thank the author and both sides. I've heard quite a lot about this as being the chair of Budget Sub 5. I know that we, in fact, had a hearing on focusing on cannabis. This is actually the hemp part of it. I think one of the areas that has been a sustaining drum for me has been the enforcement of the illegal market. And so as I look at this, I know that the revenues would be impacted. So my question would be to whoever would like to answer is, with the revenue decline, how can we still assure that there will be enforcement out there in the field? I actually had an opportunity to go out on a cannabis enforcement in Fullerton, of all places, where I live, and there's certainly not a lack of the black market. And when I went out, it was actually on Valentine's Day, and there was a huge amount of product out there in 3 different stops that we made that particular morning. So my concern is if we're going to lower this to 15%, I believe, is that what you said? How are you going to count on the enforcement side?
Sure. I'd be happy to answer that question, Assemblywoman. First off, I want to clarify, as it relates to enforcement at the state level, enforcement is entirely funded by cannabis licensing fees and penalties. So that is how the DCC funds enforcement efforts in California. Now, there are buckets in the Tier 3, bucket where 20% goes to local law enforcement, and that's administered by the Board of State and Community Corrections. So they issue grants to various local governments to deal with local enforcement. But statewide enforcement is funded by the legal cannabis industry, and that would not be impacted here. I also want to note, as it relates to that 20% bucket, out of it, it's 20-20-60, that local enforcement grant, actually early budget action last year siphoned off $100 million of that money. So if we truly want to prioritize enforcement, then we should not be the license industry should not be required to bear the costs of statewide enforcement, and there needs to be a lot more energy and effort focused on ensuring that that grant money actually goes out to address real enforcement efforts. And that wasn't happening either.
One of the reasons the 100 million was taken from the budget, because that was under our budget committee, was because they actually were not getting the grants out. So just to clarify on that.
No,
but I understand
that's
what you're
fair,
saying.
and I didn't mean to make an assumption to the contrary, but you're right. The money was not going out, and the money that was going out, the lion's share was not going to enforcement. It was going to other programs, like a skate park in Grass Valley, for instance. So if we truly want to focus on enforcement, there needs to be a real dedicated focus to that effect.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from members? Hearing and seeing none, Ms. Aguiar-Curry, you may close.
I just want to thank you very much. You know, members, I've been working on this issue for 6 years, and it's a constantly evolving marketplace, as you can imagine. And the bill that I present you today will make products and practices safer and make it harder for criminals to sell illegal products. So this bill also expands the amount of products subject to the cannabis excise tax. So we expect to increase tax revenue in the long run. But that doesn't mean our work's done. As you all know, I promise that I will continue to work with the stakeholders to support integration in that way that supports our legal hemp and cannabis industries, further empowers our regulators to attack illegal products and protect the public health. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that hemp products are well regulated and safe for all consumers. And I'm committed to updating all of you on the committee as we move forward. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. This bill will be referred to our suspense file. Thank you, witnesses, for coming and testifying. Thank you very much.